Okay, are we ready to go? Before the coffee break, we talked a little bit about that. We can't only talk the talk, we have to walk the walk. But now we will talk about how to walk. That's the purpose of this session. And I have with me a very interesting group of people. The three in the panel, as you see, that's Ms. Milena Stoycheva, the chairperson of the Board of Innovation in the Ministry of Innovation and Growth in Bulgaria. And you used to be then the minister of the same ministry. So welcome to you. And the next one we have Mr. Kaspars Grinbergs, the CEO of LTDS Plus in Latvia. And Kaspars has been involved in several projects related to the Norway grants. And has a lot of interesting thoughts, I know, because I know you. And that's, yeah. And then last but not least, we have Mr. Colin Marinov, the head of International Affairs and Strategic Development in Glaubolskarstrøy Holding. That's difficult for me to say that, but it's... and of course, Colin has worked also in the ministry, and actually he has also been a colleague at Innovation Norway, so we know each other very well. And Colin always starts his emails by giving the weather report, but today we can see the weather, so you don't have to give the weather report today. We will discuss then the different aspects of the Green Deal. And I think we will start with kind of the obvious things, the objectives. We know that they are really ambitious. But are they realistic? That's a very big question. Maybe we should start with that before we go into the contribution of business to reach then the objectives. So maybe, Milena, that you will start comment on whether the objectives are realistic.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. I would start with the premise that I see myself, especially after having been in the position of Minister for Innovation and Growth, as a policypreneur. This is what I call it, because I think it's very relevant that when you talk about policies, and the Green Deal is one of these policies of the European Union, you're actually very close to the market and you understand how all of these policies will be having an implication on the market, on the society, on people, and also on the future. Because we, at the Ministry of Innovation and Growth, our goal was to create a vision for the country and to start thinking about the future of the country, because in the current environment, the way things are, we're not able to say the most, I used to say, actually the most constant and well-known thing is that there is a change. There will be a change of something. So with regards to the Green Deal, what we have been seeing and what I already discussed being also while being a minister is that there's been a lot of very ambitious agenda to set those goals, and Europe as a whole was showing a real leadership in how to drive this agenda for sustainability. I think from this point of view, it was a very good decision, a smart one. However, one of the things that we're seeing right now and where we're seeing a big challenge is that all of this timing and agenda to achieve the goals by 2030 are in fact, I would say, unrealistic. One of the challenges is the fact that we had to combine regulatory frameworks and the way that the different administrations and also countries coordinate their efforts on the one hand, and on the other hand to allow enough time for companies themselves to make that transition, because it would be a very quite of a transformation for a lot of the companies. And the way I was seeing this is not to just add another layer, but in fact to rethink the whole business model of how to run your company so that you're meeting all of these requirements. And in order for all of this to really make sense, we have to think how efficient and also costly what will be the economic impact on the companies in order to allow this, but also to think about the culture and mindset that will be needed in order to advance this. So in this case, because startup mindset and the entrepreneurial ecosystem is the area where I feel most comfortable. As I said, I've been an entrepreneur too, and I'm seeing that even if companies are acting very visionally, progressively, and pushing themselves to these boundaries, they're actually seeing resistance on part of the regulatory systems, the ones that were exactly the ones that were supposed to actually facilitate. So I think it's unrealistic. What we are also acknowledging that at the moment, while I was also at the ministry, we saw that there is a need for integration and collaboration between the different members, different ministries within the cabinet itself. And without that collaboration, you cannot advance even a single action properly. So I think we will have a chance to talk a little bit more, but just to tell you, I think it's time to seriously, realistically revise this, also taking into consideration where the market is, where the culture and thinking and mindset is, and where our capacity and abilities are.
Thank you. And before giving the floor to Kaspars, I will follow up on one point, because you are very clear on the conclusion. This is not realistic. But is it then a bad thing to set such targets? Is it then harming the credibility of the Green Deal to set such targets? Because people will say, okay, no, this is not realistic.
No, I actually said exactly that I think we were right to be ambitious. Because without being ambitious and without setting these high standards, we would not have made this a main focus of attention. It's more about how we create all of these policies so that they're really effective. And I think in general, Europe needs to learn that it cannot, it cannot drive economies and societies and people without being evaluating properly its resources, its capacity, and also taking into consideration the positioning globally of where we are. If we don't have a common single market for Europe, we cannot, we have to first do the first step before we move to the 10th step, which is what it was.
Okay.
So it's a dichotomy. Okay. This is my answer.
Okay, that's clear and interesting. And then, Kaspars, what's your take on this? You have been involved in many projects related to sustainability and green agenda and so on. What's your take?
Sorry. You want to take this one?
Now you hear me. So I actually I don't know if you need someone else besides Milena in this conversation, because she has absolutely all the knowledge that you need to hear. But I will try to add at least something. I try to add at least something. Hopefully it will be sufficient enough. But what I wanted to add, what I heard from Milena, I heard that she already admitted that there are some political issues, because what we must understand why those targets are not, as she said, realistic, and I agree on that, because from the very core from the beginning. So when we start something new, there is always be opposition, and in all the member states, you have politicals who use this as a platform to be against this Green Deal agenda. And if there is a platform and if there is an opposition, there will always be someone who is listening for that. So when we ask, we need to do something, we need to add more money, we need to contribute with more money from UA funding. So, but when we speak about adding money, so then there's always be an issue, there'll always be a problem, and there'll always be a political debate about that. So what we must overcome, because the main problem is the mindset, and mindset is always most important thing, because it takes time, it takes education, it takes the knowledge. And when you have a knowledge, then there's no problem with the mindset, because we all have a common goal. But in this case, everybody in Europe understands that there are problems with the, we have not only society, but we have a lot of issues that we must overcome. But this is one of the platforms that we must discuss more clearly, and we must debate it more carefully, and understand that everything must be taken step by step. But unfortunately, time is against us. Yeah, hopefully we will overcome all of these issues in the future.
You said that you will always find people that will use this agenda. So maybe this is a very political question, but do you think that this will perhaps also even influence then the upcoming election for the European Parliament?
It definitely will. It definitely will. In many countries, it will. If they will affect the results on elections. As I said before, there's no problem with understanding there are environmental problems, but the measures that must be taken, that it always be under some very great discussion in different countries, and because the politics is always ahead. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good ideas, but the politics is always ahead, because the politics is the ones that sets the path, and only after that you have new ideas, you have new transitions, as we want to make with this Green Deal. But unfortunately, we always one step away from the politics that is set before us. So, and politics is not always based on data and knowledge. Unfortunately, that's true. That's true. And,
it's more based on that you need to be re-elected.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that you can't be in front. You have to convince your electorate before you can.
Yeah, that's true. As one comparison, or one, you said I can tell some jokes either. So that's, but with the politics is like with the wife, you never lie to your wife, but you never say all the truth. So that's with the politics either. So.
Okay, that's a lesson learned. Okay, that's a takeaway from today and then the discussion. Yeah, and Colin, you have a lot of experience from different perspectives, because you have both worked in the ministry, you have worked in an innovation agency like Innovation Norway, and you are working in the private sector in a company. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, thank you, Magna, for this opportunity, for the invitation. I'll still start with the weather. We have very nice sunny weather, so it's definitely positive for the lively discussion here. Because if it was raining, it would be much tougher to do this. Yes, actually, when I was at the ministry, although I was not imposing some regulation, but I was following the companies, whether they are following those regulations. But still, it was looking very easier from that perspective, and I was always asking me, wow, probably it's difficult, but still it's in favor of the companies to follow this regulation. They will lead us always to something good. But now on the other side, I see some of the gaps that were missing actually, and it's the same with the Green Deal. It's good that we have this high target. In my opinion, it's always good to have high targets, but now we have this straightaway way to reach that target. And the thing is that on both sides, on the side of the industries, on the side also of the different agencies of the European Commission and the different stakeholders, will have step backs. I mean, we cannot definitely reach those targets on the straight way that we have now. So we should have some. We would definitely have some delays in different industries. Actually, having these high targets, it undercovers something that I guess all of us know, that different industry, different sectors, they have different level of development, different level of reaching green targets, different level of preparation to innovate, to develop their operations in a way that it is sustainable. We have some industries that are actually there. They could very easily reach their targets because they're working in these directions for many years. It's also the question of not only of the setup of a company, but also the surroundings, which means also how the research academia sectors, whether they are prepared to deliver technologies in order to have this transition in different sectors, because this is not a matter of it's not happening like on month-to-month basis. It's this research and cooperation between industry and research organizations in order to have the technology to have the transition. It's happening for years, not for a couple of months. So when we have this work already done for some sectors, in these sectors we will have very good results.
Thank you. And my interpretation is that, of course, the targets, they are good, even though not realistic, because they are something to. Well, we'll try to reach the target, but of course we will probably not fully do that. But still, it's good to set the targets. But on the other side, it could then be some kind of problem with the credibility of the Green Deal. And sometimes you hear then businesses say that, okay, this is harming European businesses and European industry. We are getting less competitive compared to then businesses in other parts of the world. What's your comment on that? Is that the case?
Still, I think that Europe is quite a big player in the world economy. So if Europe is going to set the standards, I think that gradually we can reach also other countries and other economies through these standards, because you know that those Green Deal targets, they're in a way for the European companies, for the European industries, but they're reaching also the supply chains of the different companies. So basically they're gradually also transposed to other parts of the world. And we have also some very good examples from other parts of the world which are also ahead in this green transition. So I don't think that in the long term it would hurt the competitiveness of the European economy.
Mm-hmm. Milena, you would like to comment on that?
I just was tempted, excuse me, that I think absolutely not. If we show that, because it's about maturity, having this target and this ambitious agenda, we are already setting Europe as a leader. We know that Europe doesn't have the biggest contribution to the carbon imprint on the planet. In fact, our contribution is at the most 10%, not even that. But on the other hand, what we have done with this is we have said that this is something that cannot be compromised. That we are now acknowledging this is so, listening to what the younger generations want, to how they project themselves, and they will be the ones who will be experiencing the impact of this economy on their lives. If we are serious about our future, we have to have this target. So it's not a compromise. I think it's now about a responsible behavior. And the responsible behavior, to me, requires that we start adjusting this realistically and start working with the companies and with the organizations, with the stakeholders, to make sure that we have a process in place that will allow us to reach this. It's one thing to have the big vision, it's another thing to also prepare the countries and the economies to advance on this plan.
Kaspars.
Yes. Again, just to add something. Yeah. So what I liked it from what I heard, that yes, we must start thinking responsible. We must start thinking like we have to save our planet. We have to save our world for our next generations. But one thing that we must take into account is that those goals that are set, they are set for all the Europe. But when we think about of a Green Deal, we don't think about an innovation, only innovation in the future. We think about how we will consume less energy in the future. And to set these goals, to reach these goals, so there are a lot of energy efficiency projects ahead of us. It's a building refurbishment, it's in infrastructure refurbishment. There's a lot of things that we must overcome in the future. And one thing is the labor costs and different labor costs and wage rates in Europe, which will affect if we need to reach these goals in a short notice. For example, in Latvia, there's no problem with the innovations. We have a good platform to make new ideas. We have good new scientists. We have a lot of things that we can give to the Green Deal in the future. But there's a great gap in Latvia, for example, and I see it in Europe either, that there is one thing is the innovation, and the other thing is how when it is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, when it is in a business world. So. What I see that there are issues that must be taken in consideration. It is with the wage rates. If we need to be successful in a short notice, then there are things that we must take into consideration in the future. So another thing about innovation, the time after we have an innovation, and when it goes into the market, this time must be shortened in the future with a lot of. I would like to say there's a lot of, unfortunately, bureaucracy we have. There's a lot of things that we must do better in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is a very good bridge to the next topic I wanted to discuss with you, because then we will go to the role of the businesses. Because of as I said before the coffee break, if you have followed the discussion on the green agenda for a long time, and I have followed it for 35 years or something like that. It's a big difference, because back in the days, as I then said, it was then the businesses or the industry that was the problem. So then the discussion was how to regulate them. But now it's much more a discussion on how then the contribution of business to be then the part of the solution. So I would like to get a little bit into then the role of businesses, and Kaspars, you already mentioned then the kind of this balance between innovation development and then what I call scaling, to then apply then the innovative solutions to get then the impact. Because that's what we are looking for. So maybe Kaspars, you could start on how you see then the role of businesses in this.
I think that is the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity either. So when the business environment will be regulated enough to make this contribution themselves, then where there won't be an obstacles, that is a regulative obstacles from the local states, then this is the challenge and the greatest opportunity. When the business world with the investment will go and do these innovation things and implement them in local economies, then I think this will be the greatest opportunity, and this will be the shortest way to reach these goals that we have set for Green Deal. What I want. What I see from the business world, that you can't relate on, unfortunately, we know those last events we have always witnessed around the world. We have COVID, we have war, we don't understand for how long term we can plan our investments, because there's you cannot rely on, for example, electricity prices. You cannot rely on the gas prices in the future. 2 years, the gas price exceeded the highest price ever. Now 2 years later, it is basically the the same we had 3 years ago. So if we look at the Green Deal 2 years ago, I think it would be it was the great start for it. So it was super high prices in it for energy, and everybody thought about, for example, in Latvia, there's a different businesses. There was companies who were ready to invest in the Green Deal projects. And today they're looking on it, so they cannot rely on the business environment. They cannot rely on what they can predict in the future, and that causes a little setback in this scope.
Mm-hmm. Colin?
Yeah, in this case, I think that the regulations are playing like a good role, because they're like creating an average level for all the companies that are engaged in certain industries, because through the years there was this understanding that we should be sustainable, that we should improve the way how we are doing businesses. But the thing was that each company was deciding its own way how to do it. It was more like the thing that I think was missing on like more common level was long-term strategies of the companies, how to be sustainable in long term. There were some standalone projects which were, of course, doing good. They had good implications, but not united in a strategy. Now with regulations are also in a way raising awareness of what is ahead of us, and creating stimulus for the companies to have this planning, to have a more sustainable approach in how they are doing their businesses. So in this perspective, I think it was the right time to have these regulations, and I think that the business is really challenged to perform in this direction. But after this first few years of from outside looking like a chaos, I think after this a couple of years we will have really what we are looking for, and some sustainable, some long-term strategies of the company that are really pushing the whole sectors to sustainability.
I'll come back to a little bit to measures a little bit later, but still maybe a little bit more general about all the businesses. Maybe Milena?
So I think now is the time that the businesses and the organizations in the economic sector, let's say, or in social enterprises, start being more vocal about what is the need to address this, because we have been pushing for this through the regulations, and a lot of especially the new companies, the startups, they're looking at their future and how to grow their companies. They're looking with these standards in mind. And we also know that Generation Z is already having this as part of their philosophy of life. So to me, now you were saying it's interesting. I haven't been following this policy that long, but I'm noticing now that it's really the reverse. I think it's the companies and the businesses that are leading the way, and there should be very good. There should be the only way forward is actually partnership. Is for the public sector and for the policymakers to start acknowledging this and working together. Because the capacity to innovate, of course, to drive this change, you need capacity to innovate. And the capacity to innovate is in the business sector. It is no longer in the public institutions. Public institutions, in order to do this, have to do a lot of work in training, attracting talent, and working with a different approach to how to run a company, run the business operations with a different mentality. So with that is why I think the business sector can take a more proactive role. And one of the things For example, we started doing this innovation board that is with the Ministry of Innovation is actually not a structure of the ministry itself. It is supported by the ministry, but it's an external body. And I think creating such kind of collaborations where the public institutions are working with the civil society to create a common policy that will advance the agenda is the way to move nowadays because of capacity.
Of course, then the capacity to innovate is then one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is then how to trigger the private investments needed to then apply then the innovations. Do you have any comments on that? How to do that?
There's I have worked in university. I had some innovation projects, and what I see, I will repeat it, but this gap in the business world and in innovation world is that you cannot always see what the innovation in the future, this particular innovation, maybe this research, what the result of this research could, how it will contribute in the future, and where it will be very important, where it will play a very important role. And this is the spot where we need this kind of education, and that's what I see now in universities, for example, in Latvia. I see that this new generation of management people who has this. You see that you can develop the way of thinking that they can understand, and they can spot where this innovation can make very important role in the future. Which one of those research works will be that one that will set the new boundaries, new way, new path, and that was. I think that this is the thing that we were lacking. My generation, where we had to learn physics, we had to learn math, and we had to understand everything, but we didn't see this whole picture together. And this is what the new education, I think, is done a great job. So they are preparing those new management people who will understand a little bit of science, a little bit of the business, but they will predict which is very important research in the future, and it will help. I think we are on the right time, on the right track. About the timing, that's what we can discuss, yes, but we are on the right track.
Yeah,
with regards to private investors, I think Europe, in overall, we know this. We have been acknowledging Europe is much more risk averse, and this has been the case also with private investors. Private investors have been there, and especially in wealthier economies like in Norway or in the Scandinavian countries, they are showing a different approach. They are investing much more in the deep tech sector, in the technologies that are longer term, not right away. But I think that there is now a trend for Europe to recognize that without opening up and betting not just on the immediate return, betting on a new model. And I am a big supporter of the stakeholder economy, not the shareholder economy. And we're seeing this trend also being aligned jointly with the vision that has been also for the Green Deal. So these things go together. I think we are seeing that we don't need to be, a billionaire in order to live comfortably and well. We all have a certain lifespan and capacity. I mean, even if they manage to discover the pill, the magic pill, all of the technologies to expand life, we will still have a certain time on this planet. And I think this type of consciousness and understanding that we need to be, to a bit more spiritual, let's say, in our existence and in driving the development of our companies and organizations is something that is gaining momentum, but it's also gaining momentum because of the fact that Europe is losing its competitiveness to the US and to Asia because we are not investing enough in future-orientated technologies or development, because we are trying to still live a little bit more or bet more on the comfortability of life rather than, you know, what we need as society. So I think this there is absolutely a growing trend in Europe to start to promote, you know, VC investment and also to promote private investment in new sectors and technologies, and also in sustainable businesses as well as in deep tech businesses. And education, as Kasper was saying, is really key here, because education is the space where we're creating the added value for the new type of companies. And through education and science, we can really raise that margin of competitiveness that our companies and businesses can make from Europe in actually sort of standing up to the push that is being provided by Asia and the US. Just one last point. I was 3 weeks ago in California for a business visit, and what I saw, you know, for all of us, I think we know US and especially California is a place, they call it the Mecca of innovation, is because a lot of the new ways of doing things, business models, as well as new technologies came up from there. This whole approach and also the advancement of the digital economy. And what I saw, it's very interesting, is that for the first time, US is starting to think a bit more like Europe. How? It is recognizing that in order to advance, you need to start making investment on part of the public sector in certain key areas and critical technologies in order to have the ability to project and be sustainable in the future. Because with the political situations, with the pandemics, and also with the different climate challenges that we're facing, look, they're losing the opportunity to actually reap the investment on technology because they were not thinking sustainably in terms of supply chain. So in the US, they're starting to talk about ecosystemic approach. And this is something that Europe's been actually pushing forward. So I think we're slowly driven by the necessity of the reality, we're moving in that direction.
Yep, this is exactly what I was thinking, that actually having this strive to sustainability and how the business is operating, and now with the Green Deal we actually got a focus of all kind of government incentives towards businesses. So now we have more streamlined approach towards different technologies, towards different ways of doing business. For example, now we have in Europe, also in US, it's even bigger, I think, this investment, also public investments in development of hydrogen solutions through renewables. We also have this strive towards circularity in different sectors, this industrial symbiosis between different sectors, which means that companies from one sector could very well cooperate with company from other sector. And all these kind of cooperations, they were there before, but somehow the incentive and the support, the public support, was not that much focused. Well, I think now we have this more focused support, which is, I hope, will bring some good results at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Milena, you mentioned the keyword supply chain, and what about then all the reporting requirements we now see that the companies will have to report on this supply chain and the sustainability of this, and so will that have some kind of impact, do you think?
Definitely. I mean, we're talking about regional supply chain systems as also nearshoring, and this will absolutely, I think, change the game. On the one hand, it is a good thing for the local development and local regional development, as well as for the companies, organizations to maybe to also be more efficient, because with the global competition, you cannot actually manage with the way the pace of the economy has been growing. On the other hand, it is putting another requirement. It is putting another, yet another, let's say, stake that or another thing that we have to worry about and we have to take care of. And this, to me, would be a question of where, in the end, we decide to play. Each of the company will have to decide whether they want to be, for some time, a stronger player in the local ecosystem in order to gain capacity, or whether they're ready to go global. I think for Europe, and especially for smaller markets, and we were talking earlier, that our countries, Latvia is, even Norway is not that big, we have to start working much more together, because we do not have the critical mass of a bigger market. And if we connect, this was one of the suggestions we were giving, that we need to connect as players to form the innovation ridge or edge for these countries, who can be much better off if they are working based on value-add sectors and on collaborating in that space.
Customers.
Yeah, I think what can I understand? Kind of my thoughts is that we have to understand one in this Green Deal. We have to understand one very important thing in terms of supply chains. What our relationships, what our Europe relationships are with China. So it is very good that we are ready to invest. We are ready to make production here. So we need to make a new infrastructure and make production. But everything that counts in the market is the price. So and this is where we must understand what is our relationships and what is our path. What is our green path? It is with the supply chain from the China or no. So this is the thing that is a political issue. And this is not only a challenge, but we must understand ourselves. What are we doing? We can invest in the production. We can produce technologies here locally, but the price is always be an issue in the local market. So if we can, with the funding, if we can cover this gap between what can we produce and what can we supply from the China. If we produce locally, we can cover it with the funding money, then maybe it's okay. If not, then we must understand what is our path, what we are specific in. So this is the great challenge in the future. Hopefully, we'll all with our cooperation and collaboration will help to overcome this in the future. This was a very specific question, of course.
So you think that the increased transparency and the reporting requirements will kind of help companies to take the corporate social responsibility?
I think yes.
Colin.
Yeah, just a couple of different sides on this issue. Going to the reporting, of course, we can hear now a lot of companies that are headquarters in Europe. They are not happy with those requirements that are now being still under development, a lot of them, and also for the different sectors. And the usual saying is that, Europe is generating only like small % of the CO2 emissions compared globally. But still, if we go on the CO2 emissions per capita, the European citizens are far ahead of all the other parts of the world. So this is like like very normal thing to be let to have European economies and European companies in the leading role. And to look a bit on the funny side, you know, also having the topic of our panel here, business opportunities. Actually, these reporting routines, they created or made it flourishing a totally new business niche. It is for the reporting platforms and reporting like companies that have the main business of developing standards for reporting. Of course, we have some very well established and long-term platforms for reporting. Now they are like switching towards the new ESG requirements that are laid down in the European regulations, but still, like it's a jungle of different platforms for reporting. Each of them having different reports. If each of them focused on different sectors. We also have the banking sector, the financing sector, which is like meant to be the one that is setting the pace for the European economies, because the idea is that when you are requiring a kind of financing, whether it's like credit loans, you're always getting this questionnaire of how sustainable you are. There is also this section in which you should report which standards of sustainable reporting you are following. It's also interesting how this reporting routine is passed between the companies, because when you are trying to engage your supply chain, you have it's happening more and more now in these days that you're depending on from which part of the world you have a partner, you receive a different requirement to fill a different platform on reporting on sustainability. So it's one story for the companies that are based in Europe, other story when you're based companies that are based in US, and you're getting these different reporting routines, and you're kind of engaged of a dozen different reporting routines, which of course the end goal is one and the same, but still you're reaching it through different ways. So it's really a reporting routine is something that is currently still being developed for the European companies. It's also now transposed to the national legislation. In Bulgaria we have this amendment of the law, the accountancy law, which is taking place now. So it's something to happen, or it's already happening in other countries in the EU. The European regulation on reporting is being transposed to the to the different member states. So yeah, it's interesting story, the reporting routine.
Time is running, but it is actually one more topic that I would like to have your views on, and that's then the measures. We have already talked a little bit about regulations, and we have seen that the European Union, they have even made the targets of the Green Deal legally binding. But we have then the other measures, of course, then the financing schemes, and we have seen then a kind of a shift from at least closer to the market. They are more focused on scaling. For instance, if you look at the Horizon Europe and so on. So what's your opinion on that? Of course, we have the sense of urgency because it's 2030. That's not far away. So we have seen a shift in then the views on the measures. So what's your comment on that? How should we then, for instance, design financing schemes and so on for the next years?
I would briefly. So what I see in the future that there are relevant scopes that could we can extend our those relevant scopes to what we have to our targets, and I think that would help. There are things that we could add, and maybe in the future we could so those scopes could very help to reach the goals in more faster way. But talking about But the main thing, what I would like to end this kind of conversation from my side is that we talked about the education, and I think that this is the most important role in the future, and I see as a key role in the future that what we discussed already previously, and this would be the knowledge that would help us to reach those goals. That's what I think in the I don't know the exact way how can we approach to the society around Europe, but I know that this is the main thing that we can concentrate on in the future to reach those goals. Not maybe on 2030, but we have time to 2015. So, and this is our main focus, and we have to stay on this path throughout the future.
Yes, Milena.
I think that there is focus definitely on scaling, but we need to also acknowledge that there are different levels of development in the economy and readiness. And at least here in Bulgaria, we saw that we need to promote much more in a very concrete way the collaboration between academia and business, or education and business, with programs that are not just helping this connection, but are actually very clearly focused on how to commercialize the work and how to encourage this collaboration, that it leads to very concrete results. And I think this is why in Europe we do have a bit more focus on scaling with those more developed and mature, let's say, projects and initiatives. But there will be at least, I was part of this, that there will be also focus on new initiatives and on creating opportunities for startups and the younger, let's say, economy, or the new players, the innovators, to also have access to funding. Because we have the one thing we have in Europe that could play really to our advantage is this, that we can produce innovators. We have a capacity for R&D based new companies, and we need to now put the money to where the publications and the research has been. And the way to do this is not to invest so much more only in research. I think actually we saw that in the new program period, there's a lot of funding dedicated to research and innovation. But we need to think, just like with the Green Deal, how to be realistic also in the process, and how to encourage this, let's say, more sporadic and individual initiatives to be systemic. We are not there yet. We don't have this culture. We're still in the more culture of we've been living in confident, well-developed economy and comfortable lifestyle in Western Europe, let's say. But I think that's why, because Eastern Europe and Southeast Europe, but Eastern Europe has been experiencing this transition and change for a long time, and we know what it means to be in that seat. So I think maybe we can have a different role now to play with pushing that innovation mainstream and investment in new companies and in startups to be also equally worthy and funded.
Yeah. And Colin, we have worked together on a lot of both innovation projects and investment projects. How do you see the balance?
Yeah, this is of course one way how it could be done to support directly the companies for their projects. The other thing is that the other way is also to create some incentive which could cover more companies. It could be a tax incentives for companies that are being sustainable, for companies that are investing in R&D. So this is tools that could be used for giving some competitive advantage to some companies, but at the same time creating stimulus for the others to move to this level of operation. So I think this is also a good thing to do, to create some incentives. It could be also laid down in because still in the European countries the public sector is having a lot of tenders, a lot of spendings. So when it is engaged with private companies, it could be a good way to do it, to to set even requirements in for the deliveries to have certain level of sustainability of the products that have been delivered, certain engagement of recycled products when it comes, let's say, to the construction sector. There could be a very well set requirements to use a certain ratio of recycled construction materials, which could be a good incentive even for the technologies to develop in this direction. So both, I think, on one hand, we should continue to create stimulus for the front runners, for the companies that are showing interest in being innovative, and to finance project to create project investments. But at the same time, we should also move into the direction to have to reach to a greater number of companies.
And then lastly, I want a short answer from all three of you on a very big question. And that is, if we meet here again in 10 years' time, will we be able then to say that we are in a better place?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we can see in many industries that there are improvements.
Completely.
I'm betting on optimism, so we will.
Kaspars?
I agree to both of them, so yes.
Okay, that's a good conclusion. And then, of course, I could have continued this discussion for hours, because this is very interesting, but I can see from the clock ticking that I've been the only one not disciplined today. So that's not good. But now we are, so thank you very much, and a big hand for the panelists. And then we are ready for lunch, and the lunch is served one floor down. And we will have the lunch break until 2 o'clock, and then we will meet for thematic sessions. But now I need the help, because we have the thematic session on hydrogen and on raw materials. But who will be in this? Hydrogen will be in this room at 2 o'clock, and then the raw materials will be in Mozart. I will not moderate, so I will not sing Mozart like I quoted the Shakespeare, but then you will be then in that other room. But lunch break until 2 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. This was